Hey everyone, good morning. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome to the Early Stage Expo briefing stage. My name is Matt. I'll be your very first speaker for today. I'm going to take a few minutes and talk to you a little bit about LimaCharlie. First and foremost, I like to talk about LimaCharlie as an infrastructure, a cybersecurity infrastructure platform. What that means is it gives you the opportunity to build the type of security that you want, the services you need on top of our particular platform, on top of LimaCharlie. Again, cybersecurity infrastructure. I want to talk a little bit about why this is a critical need and something that folks should have in their arsenal. So first and foremost, anyone here ever built an app, deployed a thing, utilized a third party before? I'm hoping so. All right, one hand has. That's good. Did you build your own cloud? Absolutely not. So we are very, very accustomed to the idea of I need to build or design a service. I need to build or design a thing. Who's got the best infrastructure out there for me to use to build this thing on top of? That's exactly what we provide at LimaCharlie. We provide the security infrastructure you need to build whatever it is you want. I like this tagline that we've dropped up here. We make security flexible and possible. You build, or we make it flexible. You build what's possible. A couple of ways that we go about achieving that and a couple of things that we do, but before I get into that particular motion, I want to break apart our name a little bit and tell you why this is an important thing for you to keep in mind. So first off, LimaCharlie. Anyone here familiar with the NATO phonetic alphabet by any chance? You're the only one raising your hand today. I like it. We need you in the front row. He's very active. LimaCharlie, loud and clear. Loud and clear is a common response call sign to I can hear you, loud and clear. I can see you, loud and clear. I am receiving everything I need, the signals I need to make my next decision, to make my next action, to do something. I can hear it. There's no distortion in the noise that's coming through. That right there is an underlying tenet for how we do what we do. LimaCharlie, loud and clear. And let me talk a little bit about why that is such an important concept. We've got a really high-level simplistic diagram. But when I think security, my first thought starts with telemetry. I need insight. I need visibility. I need to know what's coming into my environment. I need to be able to see what's happening. We start there from the EDR side. We've got an EDR sensor that deploys across Windows, Mac, Linux, Chrome OS, Docker, and Edge. And let me be very clear, when I say I've got an endpoint agent that deploys across all of those platforms, what I don't mean is I have an amazing Windows agent and an awful Linux agent and then a renamed agent to cover Mac, which is a lot of what you'll find out there. I've got cross-feature parity across all three major operating systems. So the amount of security, the amount of control, the amount of detection I can do across a Windows system, I can do across Linux and Mac as well. We've got coverage for Chrome OS. In fact, and I've got mine right here, most of our organization uses Chrome OS for this specific reason. Ultra secure, very portable, highly cloud-first operating system, which, believe it or not, describes a lot of how we work. We have a sensor for this. I'd be willing to bet if you've got Chrome OS in your environment right now, you're probably getting very minimal logging capabilities and very minimal detection capabilities around Chrome OS, hands down. We've also got coverage for Docker for your containers. That's my EDR-based telemetry. Think about it as an endpoint, containers, operating systems, Chrome OS, laptops, workstations, servers, whatever it might be. The other side of telemetry is literally anything else. Take a look at the top side of all this. When I think of enterprise telemetry, I'm not talking about CloudTrail logs and email logs. I'm talking everything you can possibly ingest. Let's talk about why. First off, I don't know if anyone's been paying attention lately, but adversaries have been getting really, really creative in what they do. Really creative. You may think that it is down to normal-based attacks. Unfortunately not. You have a cloud footprint, they're coming after it. You've got some sort of remote services, they're coming after it. You've got third-party apps, they're coming after it. I was not involved in the investigation, but I'll quote that recent 3CX breach that we all had to live through in the past couple of weeks turned out to be a supply chain of a supply chain attack. Who saw that vector coming? Who saw that vector happening, and who was able to prepare for that? I would say the only way to prepare for attacks like that, the only way to get a leg up on an attacker that's going to do pretty much anything they want is with visibility. It's with telemetry. So outside of endpoint detection and response telemetry, you then get into everything else that's out there. LimaCharlie, I want your cloud logs, your email logs, your firewall logs. I want every security device you've got. I want infrastructure logs. I want Active Directory integration. I want asset awareness logs. I want everything brought into one place. Because here's what I need you to do. I need you to give your analysts, your security team, or your customers the ability to make the best decisions they possibly can. And if I'm not receiving you loud and clear, quote unquote, I'm not going to be able to make the best possible decision because I'm going to have a gap somewhere in my environment. And a gap is unfortunately where adversaries like to live. They like to hide inside of those and start to use your systems against you. I'd rather catch them a lot earlier. So with ultimate telemetry all coming into one spot, we're just getting started. Right there is where a lot of security teams drop off. A lot of security teams spend a lot of money and a lot of investment bringing all their telemetry into one place and saying, all right, we're good. All my telemetry's in one spot. Now, security team, go find evil. What does that mean? What does that look like? How do I go about actually turning all of this noise and all of this mess into evil? So the second layer, the second stage of LimaCharlie is detection and response. I have to break this out because a lot of people, when they hear detection and response, they think AV signatures, they think detection. The response part typically then falls onto an analyst to have to do. There's a problem with this because I'm putting a lot of emphasis on computer detection capabilities, and then I'm pushing all the work over to my analysts after that. That doesn't equate. Anyone have an idea as to why that doesn't equate? And it's not because my analysts aren't strong enough. It's because what I do is I introduce more time into that process. So let's case study for just a moment. You've got an adversary inside of your environment. You detect that adversary within 5 minutes of them getting in there. I love it. We got you within 5 minutes, fast time. And then it takes your analyst 10 hours to make a decision on what to do. What was the point of that 5-minute detection? You just gave them an extra 10 hours on top of that. So the detection and response portion, and I challenge you all to go back to any detection and response platforms you got, the response portion is just as critical as the detection side of it. So our EDR rules, our detection and response capabilities, start with, remember all that telemetry I talked about just a moment ago? Every single source you can send me, I will take. I then give you the ability to detect on top of everything you send me. You send me in third-party cloud provider logs and tell me I have no idea what's inside of these logs, but I know they give me good insight, we're going to build detections with you on top of that. AWS, I got them out of the box. Azure, GCP, Windows, Mac, Linux, Chrome, Docker, you name it, I got them out of the box. Email vendor, I got detection rules out of the box. The moment you connect all this telemetry in, detection rules start applying on top of everything at cloud speed, which by the way is about 100 millisecond of a latency, I'm now detecting. By the way, if you know of any adversaries who can exist inside that 100 millisecond space, let me know, because I'll just bring the time down if I need to. But regardless, I'm now collecting everything at cloud speed, I'm detecting at cloud speed across all my sources. Has anyone here ever written a detection or seen a detection or an AV rule for Windows? You ever seen one for AWS? Ever seen one for Google Cloud? Ever seen one for GitHub? Ever seen them in the same place? That's what my security analysts need to make informed decisions. I'll go the other side. If you are a managed security provider and you've got multiple customers that you need to provide services to, right off the bat, your organization by default is multi-tenant. You need all the capabilities I just described at scale. You need to be able to say, all right, Matt, that's great. I need to do that for 20, 30, 100 customers, and I need to be able to do it now. Awesome. So guess what else our platform is? It's not just detection and response and a bunch of telemetry. It is API first. Anyone know the purpose of a good web app? A good web app is a front end for a really solid API. That's what our web app is. We don't start at the web app, we finish at the web app. Our API lets you programmatically do every single thing I just described from the command line, CI/CD pipelines if you need to, in a matter of seconds. That's enterprise security, managed security. Let's talk about if you're in an IR space. If I'm working incident response cases are very typically, I need help yesterday, how fast can you be here? Remember my concept of time? A lot of IR has this really tough problem of being like, I'll be there as soon as I can. Once I get a flight and a contract and an instance spun up and all those other things that I need to even start doing my job. LimaCharlie, I can do all of that in about 30 seconds. You call me at 10 a.m., by 10:02, I'm emailing you a sensor to install to start to pull telemetry in. I'm moving, we have some folks, they live inside of a 20-minute SLA when it comes to incident response because it is that fast. There's a Python script on this system right here. If I type it and press enter, we spin up a new organization, which means we have data governance in place. I can pick any region in the world I want to keep that data in. I have a sensor, I have installation capabilities, I have detection and response rules turned on, I have telemetry starting to flow in, one script and I'm done. That's what I talk about when I say flexible. So we talked about detection and response, we talked about telemetry. Now I want to do all of that at scale. That's how we help you do it at scale. We make everything as accessible and easily to use as possible. I can even go as far as wrapping those inside autonomous actions if I want to. So I could, for example, start to build out my own pipelines and my own workflows. We've got some fantastic managed service providers who work on top of us from that perspective. They help manage their customers because we make it super easy to access and utilize all these different systems. So I've got data in, I'm now detecting and responding on top of it. Remember I told you all the response side is just as important as the detection side? Our response capabilities are interactive with the systems that you bring in. Isolation, network segregation, process killing. I need you to determine just how bad is this thing that I'm detecting. And then what do I want to do when that bad thing gets detected? I want you to write all those actions up, put them in the platform, and then let us go. We're there to help build out that infrastructure. We're the infrastructure to help you then build out and say, I need to customize security down to my particular niche. And guys, ladies and gentlemen, this is really the problem that I see a lot of us having to deal with these days. Everything I just described sounds great, and it sounds awesome. But still, a lot of organizations out there go and buy some sort of tuck this in your data center or install this in your cloud solution. I will give you a dashboard, and I will tell you when there's an alert. And then you come back and you say, but wait, my environment's different. I have a different spread of operating systems. I operate in multiple countries. I have other types of platforms. I have this need, I have that need. What if I want to go another route? What if I already have teams in my organization who need to use the same type of data? What if I want my network engineers to peek into some of this and use it to their advantage? What if I've got IT operations who needs to use some of this telemetry to their advantage? Notice how I start to build all these walls in a security program that normal, typical security stacks allow you to have. Not at LimaCharlie. With that API first approach and granular permission control, you can come to us and say, hey, with LimaCharlie, I've already got telemetry, I've already got a sensors deployed. I'm already bringing all my data into one spot. How can I make this more accessible for the rest of my organization? Cool. I'm going to create an option for IT ops. System statistics, install packages, vulnerability information, data sets. They can create all of that on top of data we can bring back. Network engineers, interested in uptime, system uptime, network profile. What does it look like right now? I'm bringing AWS logs, GCP logs, Azure logs all on top of each other. So now I'm going to start to ask other questions. What types of assets do I have? What am I defending against? And then more importantly, can I do anything else with this data? So the third and final piece of perhaps that little building block right there is what you want to do when your data is inside of LimaCharlie. So first off, everything that we bring in from an EDR perspective has an automatic 365-day retention attached to it. Everything. So if you go and install a sensor right now, uninstall it tomorrow, I'm hanging on to those 24 hours of data for you for a year. Hold on to it. Because you never know when you're going to have to come back and find that. You never know when you're going to detect that something was bad in the future and look back in time. And it's your data. I want to make it searchable and accessible for you. Perhaps you want to store your data in LimaCharlie and then push out to a ticketing system, to some sort of SOAR platform. Maybe you want to take your current Splunk spend and bring that down as well by saying, I don't need to push 100% of data into Splunk to then use 2% of it. So let's focus on optimizing the other 98%, storing it in an easy, accessible place, and then utilize the 2% that you actually need to protect your organization. So data output options is perhaps the third, possibly the third tenet of that flow of LimaCharlie information. I've got a nice little graph to kind of bring this all together here for us. I'm going to bring things in. I'm going to automate and build this platform as much as I need it. I'm going to customize the way that it's put together. Inside of LimaCharlie is my detection and response capabilities. Oh, by the way, notice there's other things I didn't even touch yet. So I'm not just detection and response rules. If you're doing incident response and you need access to third-party open source tools, I've got those integrated. Anyone here familiar with Sigma rules, Sigma detection capabilities? Built in. Yara, built in. Velociraptor, built in. Atomic Red Team, built in. Anything I need to do inside of my environment, I've got built into LimaCharlie. So check that out. We started out by talking about an EDR solution to collect telemetry. But hold on, Matt, if you're already deploying an agent for me, what else can I do with that agent? Let's run some security control tests. Atomic red team, 2 clicks, I'm now testing the rest of my controls. Matt, I want to pull more intensive forensic data. I want to conduct malware scans. I want to take the latest APT report, turn that into signatures, and run it across my environment. Great. I've got query languages that serve you forward or backwards across your data, whichever way you need to go. Sigma rules integrated. So I can take open source rule repositories or something that my detection engineering team just worked up and bring that on top of my telemetry as well. I can bring Yara in. Y'all notice how all of a sudden it's not just telemetry, it's not just basic detection. It's not me sitting back and saying, well, if someone downloads a file to users public, that's probably bad, so I should look for that thing. It's a next level type of detection, next type of level and control over your data. Any integration you're looking for, I've got. Any data feed you need to bring in, I've got. And once we've got it all in there, what you do with it is up to you. Now the best part. Who wants to know about pricing? Just kidding, we're not going to spend an entire time talking about pricing. I think I have a minute or two. But this is all ridiculously affordable. I'm happy to answer any questions anyone's got about that. Our pricing, actually, believe it or not, is transparent, upfront, and available. You're able to view that and determine exactly to the gigabyte what your security spend would look like. So I encourage you all to definitely check us out, have a deeper look, and see what LimaCharlie is all about. I'm going to save a minute or two for questions, but I really, really thank you all for sitting down, taking a minute to listen to me kind of go on about this. Anyone got anything they want to ask? No? Question? Yeah.
How do you integrate GPT capability into your framework?
So the question I knew was going to come. How do I integrate GPT capabilities in my framework? Right now, I don't. It's your data. You bring the data into LimaCharlie. What you do with it, how you detect on it, where you send it, how you use it is entirely up to you. I'm not going to put any decision-making software on top of your data. That being said, if you wanted to say, hey, I want to pipe this thing out to some sort of GPT feed, I've got some analytics I want to perform, or I've got a different type of tooling I want to use, then I'm going to make that output accessible for you to use. But we right now don't have any GPT overlays on top of this, because GPT is going to do something. It's going to make decisions that your analyst will likely want to be making, or that your analyst will want to be approving. If I'm using GPT before the data gets to you, you're not getting the pure source. And I hate to drop this pun, but I'm going to. It's not loud and clear at that point. Anyone else? Any other questions? How are we on time? We're right there? Perfect. Thank you all very much, everyone. Appreciate you coming out today. Thank you all very much. Have fun today at the expo at RSA. Make sure to walk around. LimaCharlie is right at the end of this right-hand booth here. I would ask my colleagues to put their hands up, but I think they're a little bit busy. But we're right there if you want to come by and check us out. Thank you all very much.